Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Glad you could join us.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving into a source that's, well, it's a really fascinating mix, part philosophy, part personal reflection. It's definitely going to get you thinking about, your daily life, work, maybe even how society is run.
Yeah, there's some provocative stuff in there.
So our mission, really, for this deep dive is to pull out some of those surprising insights. We want to unpack what this material says about things like productivity, leisure.
How society gets managed.
Right, and what actually makes for a fulfilling life. We're looking for those bits that make you stop and think, maybe even challenge how you see things.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's just jump right in then. The speaker's main claim, right from the get-go, it's pretty striking. He says that despite, all the massive tech advances over the last, say, 50 years, working hours haven't really dropped since the 1980s. Just think about that for a minute. All this automation, digital tools, and we're still clocking roughly the same time. What's your first thought on that? It kind of flies in the face of progress, right?
It really does. And what's fascinating, or maybe disturbing, depending on how you look at it, is that he believes this isn't just like an accident, not some random outcome of the market.
Okay.
He actually argues it's an intentional choice made by society, by leadership, a choice not to translate those big productivity gains into more free time for people.
Intentional. Wow. So like a deliberate holding back of leisure time.
That's his argument.
Yeah.
As if, maybe society prefers us kept busy.
Huh. And he has this really interesting sort of philosophical angle on free time itself. For him, it isn't about doing nothing, not being idle. It's about doing things he actually enjoys, even if to someone else they might look like work.
Right, which forces you, the listener, to ask yourself, what is free time for you? Is it just downtime or is it active fulfillment?
Exactly. So if free time is about meaningful stuff, not just vegging out, that leads right into his own life, which is intense.
Understatement, maybe?
Maybe. He works apparently something like 17 hours a day. My brain kind of hiccups just thinking about that number.
Seriously.
But here's the twist. He sees it as deeply fulfilling because it's tied directly to what he loves, writing, thinking, creating stuff.
Okay.
He makes his comparison to painting, where the real payoff is in the act of doing it, the process.
Not necessarily how many people line up to see the finished painting.
Precisely. It's about the internal experience, not the external applause.
That's a really key distinction, isn't it? Challenges that whole need for external validation a lot of us feel.
Totally.
So he writes books, he makes videos, even if, as he says, the audience is limited.
Right.
Because for him, the real value isn't sales figures or view counts. It's the personal growth, the clarity he gets from creating. It's an inside job, that success.
Yeah, an internal scorecard. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can really see a kind of stoic approach woven into his daily life.
Stoicism.
Right.
Virtue, reason, resilience.
Exactly. He seems to view his intellectual work, the writing, the talking, the thinking, almost like mental workouts.
Yeah. Like building mental muscle.
Yeah, building discipline, mental strength. It's that kind of mindset.
And it's not just mental, is it? He's also big on physical exercise.
Oh, absolutely. He's very committed. He talks about using an exoskeleton for resistance, walking, and running.
An exoskeleton, wow.
Yeah. Starting short, building up gradually. And he really emphasizes the health benefits he's noticed.
Like what?
Better endurance, circulation, even handling extreme heat better, like during heat waves, says it makes a real difference.
Interesting. It really underlines his point about daily exercise, doesn't it? Even if it's just, say, 10 minutes. For that long-term health and, well, the discipline of it all.
Yeah.
Makes you think about your own routines, right? Do you see your own activities, physical or mental, in that light as sort of practice?
It's a good question to reflect on. And this whole internal measure of success he has, it really clashes with how society often defines success, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
He has this really sharp observation about modern wealth, turns the usual idea upside down.
What's it about?
He points out that a lot of people with the expensive toys, the Porsches, Ferraris, the huge houses.
The outward signs.
Right. He says many of them are actually, in his words, house poor. They look rich, but they're cash-strapped, living on the edge despite the shiny facade.
That really raises a big question about how we perceive wealth, doesn't it?
It does.
He argues that these high earners often just overspend massively on things he sees as, well, unnecessary luxuries.
Right. Status symbols.
Which leaves them financially vulnerable. ironically. So it's a direct challenge to that superficial image of success, the idea that looking rich isn't the same as being financially free.
A very different perspective.
Yeah.
And then he takes things in an even more provocative direction when he talks about the future of management.
Okay, I'm braced.
He believes humans are going to be increasingly micromanaged, and the comparison he draws is pretty stark, like domesticated animals.
Oof, that's an unsettling image.
It really is.
And his take on why is interesting too, especially with everyone talking about AI these days.
How so?
Well, he pushes back against the common idea that AI itself is the thing to fear, the thing that will control us.
Okay. So he doesn't see AI as the villain.
Not inherently.
Yeah.
His view is very clear. AI is just a tool, like a hammer. Can build a house, can break a window. It depends who's wielding it.
Okay, so if AI is just the tool, who's holding the hammer?
Exactly. His core belief, and he's quite emphatic about this, is that the real managers, the ones pulling the strings, are elected leaders.
Political leaders.
Yes. Using AI to advance their own agendas. He argues their primary motivation isn't money, actually. It's power. Control.
Power and control prioritized over wealth.
That's his contention. And he gets quite frustrated, it seems, that analysts and writers often miss this. They focus on the tech, the AI.
And misidentifying who he calls the true enemy, which for him is the political leadership using the tool.
It's a really strong claim, isn't it? Blaming political leadership so directly for this potential future of control.
Yeah.
Many people would point to corporations or economic systems.
He seems to see those as often influenced or enabled by the political structures. And interestingly, given these strong views, he seems quite detached from needing external validation.
How do you mean?
Well, he says he's genuinely unbothered if his work doesn't get wide public recognition. He actively avoids reading online comments about it.
Really? Why?
To avoid getting sidetracked by negativity, he says. He seems to have just accepted that, most people aren't inclined to challenge the foundations of political systems. They prefer to support them.
So he just puts his ideas out there, regardless of the reaction.
Pretty much. Which leads us to how he views his writing itself.
Yeah.
He actually describes it as an act of resistance.
Oh, okay.
His books tackle these themes head on. Control, leadership, the blind spots he sees in society.
And he mentions the practical hurdles too, right? Like the cost of doing it professionally.
Yeah, that was striking. He mentions things like editing costs, potentially hitting like $50,000 or more, a huge financial barrier.
Wow. But he keeps doing it anyway.
Apparently so, regardless of sales figures, because for him, it fills this deep personal need, a philosophical purpose.
That really speaks volumes about his commitment, doesn't it? Purpose over popularity or even profit.
Absolutely. So if we try to sort of summarize the main threads connecting all this, what stands out?
Well, there's definitely that strong theme of self-determination. Defining your own meaning in work and life, even if it looks extreme to others, like the 17-hour days.
Right. And the Stoicism is clearly there viewing challenges and effort, mental and physical, as forms of discipline. Then there's the critique of superficial success, that idea that shiny objects don't equal real freedom or wisdom.
Yeah, the house poor idea.
Yeah.
And the political skepticism is huge, that insistence that technology isn't the root problem.
Yeah.
But rather how power uses technology.
Exactly. And underpinning it all is that commitment to purpose over popularity, measuring value internally, not by external metrics.
It all ties together in a very coherent, if challenging, worldview.
It really does.
So maybe the final thought to leave people with, building on all that, if our ideas about work and free time can be so easily shaped by these external forces he talks about,
Yeah.
well, how much power could we reclaim by consciously reshaping our own personal definitions?
Right.
Could that be a way to live more autonomously, even in a world that seems increasingly geared towards, well, control?
That's definitely something to chew on long after this deep dive is over. How much power lies in simply redefining our own terms?
Something to think about.
Welcome. I want to talk to you today about productivity gains and hours unchanged. I want to talk about the fact that we have gained a lot of productivity over the last 50 years, but people work still the same amount, and it hasn't translated to any more free time. I want to talk about that. So I think the best is I start straight away talking about my bullet points, and I'll give you some reflection on top of that while they arrive, because there are a lot of things actually I want to talk about, but I think it's better if I do it apropos when the moment comes. Despite massive technological advances, working hours have not decreased since the 1980s. Productivity has risen, but this has not translated into more free time. According to me, this is on purpose, that it has not translated into more free time. There's a lot we have to say about free time from a philosophical standpoint. What free time actually is, and how you should use it. I try to work 17 hours a day, and people will tell me that's no free time and nobody wants to live like this. It's worse than having a life of a dog. But my life is very different from somebody else because I enjoy what I do. I think it's awesome that I could create the bullet points that I did, and I think it's awesome that I can talk about them. And you will tell me, but what's the point? Nobody watches your videos. That doesn't matter to me. It's like when you're an artist and you create a beautiful painting, you do it because you enjoy it. You enjoy the process of creating that painting. You like looking at the final result. That people approve of it or people admire it, that's a different question. That has nothing to do with you. There's nothing I can do if people don't understand what I do. I'm not Bunny Blue or Tina, I don't know what she's called. I don't do something very shocking, but easy for people to understand. My goal is not to have intercourse with 100 or 1,000 guys in 12 hours. And because of that, getting fame and making a lot of money. Whatever. If she's all for it, if it makes her happy being famous, then it's all good. It's all good for her. But that's not me. My life is very different. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm not interested in anything people do nowadays. But I like the stuff I do. I like my 4th book that I have written, and I'm very pleased with my 5th book, which is going very well. My 5th Stoic book. And if everything goes smooth, will be published soon. I'm not finished. I have written like 300 pages. Normally I go for 350 pages, but then I will be able to publish the book. I'm all happy with that. And you tell me again, like my videos, nobody reads your books. Does that mean that they are any less good? Does that mean that they are any less interesting? Does that mean that I learned less with writing them? That they please me less? It means that I have less money on my bank account. That I won't can get a vacation or anything else. But who cares? That's not the point. The point is in making my ideas clear, of becoming more stoic, since I'm a stoic philosopher, of leaving stoicism. And it's just an exercise. It's just a stoic exercise. What do I do when I talk to you? What do you think I do? I do an exercise. I intellectually talk about subjects. I try to explain them to you. While I explain them to you, they get more clear for me. And next to it, I put on my exoskeleton and go for a walk on resistance mode. When I do that 1 hour and I come back home, my legs will hurt. I will have done a real exercise. And later, this afternoon or this evening, I'll go for a run. And you tell me again, what's the point? It's a stoic exercise. We recommend to do an exercise every day. A physical exercise every day. It doesn't matter what you do. You can do whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. But you should do it on a regular basis. And I'm all happy because I enjoy going for a run with my exoskeleton. It makes it much more pleasant. Increase the distance. And once I increase, I don't step back. And I sweat when I do that. I normally never sweat in my entire life. But I do so much exercise that I sweat a lot more. And I feel much healthier. I feel much better than I ever felt in my entire life. And I'm old, really old. And I only learned how to actually do sports. Even when I had teachers who were after me all day long teaching me about sport, I hated it. I didn't want to go for a run. I didn't want to do any of the stuff they want me to do. I did it because everybody did it, but I despised it. It made no sense to me, but I enjoy it. And the health benefits are huge. It is a heat wave, the last heat wave in my country. It will stop in 1 week. And then the summer is over. And normally, with those heat waves, it is really hard to bear it because it is more than 30 degrees even at night, and there's a lot of humidity. With that humidity and that heat wave, for people it's very hard. It was very hard for me in the past when I was younger. But the heat wave, I barely feel it. It isn't as hard to endure as in the past because I sweat much more, because my cardiac rhythm is better. My blood circulation is better because of the exercise I do, and it's much easier to live. The health benefits are huge doing an exercise once a day. And since antiquity, wise men and people teach you that, but nobody does it. There are people who go for once a week, maybe for a run, in the best case scenarios, or they do it only once a month. It is not enough. You have to do it on a daily basis. Doesn't matter how much. Go only for 10 minutes if you can do more or you don't want to do more. But do it every day. I started very low before I went for a higher distance. And I keep increasing them. And the more I increase them, the farther I want to run. I will never do it too much because I don't have time to run a couple of hours every day. I get a lot out of it. And that is because when you do sport, you get endorphins. And the endorphins is a feel-good hormone. Afterwards, you have much more energy and you feel much more sharp. It's an exercise. The same talking to you is an exercise. Working with my exoskeleton is an exercise. Writing my books is an exercise. I know that nobody cares. None of my friends watch any of my videos. None of my friends reads any of my books. That doesn't mean that they aren't awesome. To me, they are awesome. I read them every day with my soul reader glasses that I have shown a couple of times on my channel. And one more thing. The last video I have published talks about something interesting, and it's related to the subject I will talk about with my bullet points. It talks about how people will be managed. And it's an interesting thought because I think that's our future. We will be managed. We are already managed very heavily. But I think we will be managed even more in the future. Just as you manage cattle or anything else, any domestic animal, they will manage us much more in the future. But the big mistake of this video and every other video, every other analysis, every other thought, every other book you see is that they never realize who is the enemy. They never realize what the real danger is. They invent fake stuff. They are scared about stuff that isn't scary. And they never talk about what really is scary, what you really should worry about. Yes, you will be managed. But the tool for managing you is AI. They only talk about AI. They say AI will manage your life. And up to a certain analysis, it is true. It is true that AI will be the tool that will manage you. It will make the micromanagement of your life possible. But somebody is asking it to do that with you, to manage your life. And the person who does that is your dear elected leader, the guy you elect every 5 years. He's the one who will do the management according to his plan, according to his agenda. That's what they always did. That's what power and control is. And that's the thing they really care about. They don't care about numbers on a computer, what you call money. That's nothing. It's putting a 1 and some zeros and sending them to people so they don't starve to death. That's nothing. That's very easy to them. And it will be totally managed by AI. Wherever I go, there's so much traffic. There are like 2 huge delivery guys turning around and they make a huge amount of noise. Let's take another trip. Here you can see Switzerland. A guy with his Porsche not getting out of a park. People have much money to spend on. Amazing. Get the car. I think you can see it. But you only see that. Porsches, the last model, Ferraris, and on. All those guys did nothing. Nothing real for society. They do something meaningless somewhere. They think that's really important because their slave mother has given them a diploma, which means that a bureaucrat has put a cross on a piece of paper and they can do something. And maybe he has 100K, 250K, 300K a year. And then he starts spending money a lot on all the crap he likes. His Porsche, his villas, 5, 10 millions and on. And he's still broke at the end of the day. A lot of people with a lot of money are broke. They can barely pay their bills. They have a lot of debts. And when they have to put out like 1K, they can't. They're house poor. Yes, they have real estate, but they're house poor. It's just stones, put one on top of the other. And it's very expensive. For a lot of them, it's hard to put 1K on the table. Even though they have their villa that is worth 10 millions, the last Porsche, the last Ferrari or Porsche that they change every 2 years to get the newest model, they have all that stuff. And they still cannot put 1K on the table. Why can't they? Because they're house poor. It's the definition of house poor. They barely can pay their bills. They make more money, but they spend more money on crap that you don't need. Let's get back to our subject I want to talk about. I want to explain to you why we have no more leisure and why people are still working so much. I work 17 hours a day, but because I enjoy it, because I want it. I can stop making videos. I can stop writing books. It wouldn't affect me. I only need to make enough money in the markets to pay my bills. And for now I manage. But I'm interested. I'm fascinated by everything I do. I really enjoy the process of creating stuff. And yes, nobody will ever listen to me. Nobody will ever be interested. But who cares? I do not care. There's a couple of guys on YouTube who will tell me why they hate me so much and why everything I do is so bad and why they are so awesome. Of course, those kind of people exist. But it doesn't affect me. I don't even read their comments. I never read comments on YouTube. It's a waste of time. It's that they can be a keyboard warrior and complain about life and why they are unhappy and why they hate me. Let them do it. That's the only thing that makes sense to them. That's the only feeling they can get out of light. Hate for everything. Hate for themselves. Hate for humanity. Hate for everything except their de-elected leader. And that they really like. And every 5 years, they will really hard go into a box behind a shower curtain and then they vote very hard so that the de-elected leader gets elected and uses extreme violence against everybody, domestically and abroad. No, when that happens, they're happy about it. And it comes back to my subject. Why do they say that our lives will be micromanaged and the enemy is AI? Why can they not see behind the curtain and see who's pulling the strings? AI is just a tool. Just a very simple tool, a very basic tool right now. It's amazing what it does, but it's very basic. I'm going to talk about automation. That's why I'm here. But they never talk about a real enemy. And why don't they do that? Read my books. I talk about it in my books. Read the third book you can buy, the first one that I could edit. Before that, I couldn't edit a book. It costs more than 50K. I do not have 50K to spend on something that nobody will read or nobody will buy. I can spend 50K on my books. If I sell 100,000 copies, it makes me enough money to pay the 50K and have some more to invest in the next book. But if nobody buys, which is the case, nobody buys my books, nobody cares about my videos, then there's no point in spending 50K for something. It's like when the state steals stuff from me, illegally, and it's 100% illegal. You can see that's 100% illegal. And I lose because the state steals from me something that's worth 5K or 15K. Yes, I could go to the next instance. Yes, I could spend more money, get more lawyers, go in front of more judges and try to get some kind of justice. But it will only cost a lot of money. It will cost me 20, 50K more. And it's only 5 to 15K that they did steal from me illegally. Yes, but what's the point? And even if I spend the 50 or 20K more, there will not be justice. It is a good chance that even if I manage to prove what is obvious, it changes nothing because the system is not in your favor. The system was written by the slave master in his favor, not in my favor. And when they want to crush you, when they want to use extreme violence against you, they use extreme violence against you. And they invent bullshit. It happened a couple of times in my life. I know what I'm talking about. I spent enough time in front of judges, lawyers, and I studied law in university. They're all psychopaths, more or less. They're all destroyed. The only thing they can think about is what Kim Jong-un wants them to do. That's the only thing they can think about. And they think justice is, when something happens, they ask them, what is just? What should I do? What is the truth? None of those questions interest them. The only question they're interested in is, what does Kim Jong-un, the slave master, wants me to do? And when they think they got the answer, then they do exactly that. They don't care about anything. They don't care about humanity. They have no moral principle whatsoever. They only care about what Kim Jong-un wants them to do. And when they finally think what that is, then they do that. Okay? Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how evil it is. They will do it. That's their job. What do you want to do with those kind of people? There's no discussion you can have. I could never talk to any lawyer, to any judge, to any guy working in front of a tribunal. I couldn't even talk to the guys with whom I studied law and university. They are also brainwashed to the highest degree imaginable. For them, that is all necessary, because without it, they would be very scared. The Stockholm syndrome is very easy. When somebody kidnaps you, you will cooperate with the kidnapper. Doesn't matter how violent it is, and how much he tortures you, and how many people he kills. You realize that your best chance of survival is doing exactly whatever the kidnapper wants from you. And that's the same thing with everybody in this world. They all have the Stockholm syndrome. They are all scared about reality. They are all scared that if they call out the slave master and explain to people why it is dangerous and why he will manage their lives much more in the future than in the past, because the new tools will allow him to do that. If they do that, they get scared, because for them, security can only exist if they give the right to extreme violence, to kill and steal from people, sending into war and tax them into oblivion. Only in that they can conceive security. If there are not endless wars, if you don't keep killing people all over the planet, then for them there is no security. They are very scared. They cannot comprehend a world where people organize themselves and act accordingly and create their own way of defending themselves by using their inherent right to self-defense and having institutions who do it for them, but not the state, because the state will use that violence against you. It will not defend you. It will use the violence only against you for his agenda. People are very scared about that. They talk about management of people, which is true, but they think that the evil thing is AI. They do not realize that behind the AI, there is a slave master, somebody who you gave the power to in the first place to manage your life. Without you agreeing to it, without you asking for that management, the slave master would never be able to manage your life. I want to try to explain to you why people are still poor, even though productivity has increased. How come people are still poor, even poorer than in the past? It's called lifestyle inflation, prolongs work. Goods once considered luxuries have become necessities, focusing people to keep full-time jobs to afford them. And it's not one full-time job, it's the gig economy. You can have fun with 2, 3, 4 crappy jobs that nobody wants to do. The problem is not only the shift from luxury to necessities. It is the continuous erosion of purchasing power. It's not just that stuff like a smartphone, microphone, the stuff that before didn't exist, nobody cared about or used, is becoming a necessity. It's not just that. It is the erosion of purchasing power. With average inflation of 2.5% per year, we lose about 28% of value in 10 years. I let you check the numbers because I didn't verify them. I only asked ChatGPT to come up with the number, and I didn't check that if the math is correct. Check it yourself. But it's like 30% of purchasing erosion. You're 30% poor in 10 years because the wages do not keep up. Your salary doesn't go up, but inflation is never ending. And they explain to you when you go to university why that is awesome. And it is awesome for the elite, for the slave master. For you, it is not. The power you lost, the 30% in 10 years, that goes straight somewhere. Where does it go? It goes in the pocket of your slave master. It goes in the pocket of the elite. That's why they become so much wealthier, while you are so much poorer right now. We are pushed to buy more and more, while ending up broke. So no one has the time or means to escape the system. That's the thing. They want you poor, depending on the system. Because if you're poor, depending on the system, with their UBI or welfare, whatever they come up with, the more you are dependent on the system for the basic necessities of life, the less freedom you have, the less capable you are to escape the system. Even I'm much more free than most people you will ever see, but I'm still in that system. I still walk in this street. I still cannot go wherever I want to go. If I leave the country over an extended period of time, I get sanctioned by the law that the slave master has invented. There will be consequences if I leave the country too long. They want me to stay here because even if I don't think of myself, I'm still considered one of the slaves of this country. Just as all the migrants and all the new guys who come in and all the kids, I'm still considered one of the slaves. And if you want to escape that, well, you have to be extremely wealthy. I could have been extremely wealthy if I started with 1 million, but I started with zero, with less than zero. And when you start with less than zero, well, you have to find the time to get profitable, which takes years, sometimes decades. Most people never manage it. And once you get profitable, well, then you have to make enough money just to pay your bills. And that's a very long process, and it's very difficult. You have to become profitable to pay your bills. But if I have started with 1 million, within this country where I live is nothing. It's really nothing. For you, it might be a lot of money where you come from, but also the rent is very cheap and everything is very cheap. Here, my rent is extremely expensive and I have nothing for it in exchange, nothing. If I could spend that on rent in a land like Thailand or Vietnam or Cambodia, I would get extreme luxury. It's amazing. In this country, you get like 3 garbage cars doing the same street. 3 garbage guys, one after the next. It's just amazing. It boggles my mind how much work they can put into stuff that is basic stuff. and how much people do the same stuff over and over. I really don't get it. Right? There must be 3 garbage carts, one after the next, going through the same street in a park. Okay, not even in the city, in a park. I'll let you take a look at this. I think you can see it. It's quite nice. Not too windy today. Since this has stopped and it's a little less noisy, I can go back to my subject. We are pushed to buy more and more while ending up broke. So no one has the time or means to escape the system. They want you broke and they want you depending on the system. You must understand what control is. Control is not a number on a screen. Control is control. And the control they are talking about is the definition of extreme violence. Without extreme violence, without coercion, there would be no control. You would be free. If they take away your means, if they make sure with their laws and their agenda that you will always be poor or close to be poor, even if you have, like the guy with his Ferrari or his Porsche and his villa 10 millions, but you're still broke. You still have no money. Most of them don't have. There are some exceptions, some billionaires, but they're not many. And their generational wealth only lasts 3 generations, then it's over. Most of the time, they are stupid and so dumbed down that they cannot even transmit their generational wealth. We are talking about hundreds of millions. They cannot even transmit it to the 2nd generation. They mess it up before it goes to the 2nd generation. But the average is 3 generations. 1st generation makes the money, 2nd generation spends the money, 3rd generation is broke. That normally happens. There are a couple of exceptions on Earth, like the Rothschilds and a couple of people, a couple of princes, kings, who have managed to keep wealthy over a longer period of time. But normally it's 3 generations, then you're broke, like everybody else. They could, if they would start to do real stuff, if they would talk to me and try to be smart, understand something about investing and making money in the markets, and not just thinking about luxuries and pleasures, then it would change for them. And they would end up with 50 or 100 billions. They could, my uncle could, but he's not interested in that. He's only interested in showing off his wealth. Having a nice villa in Zurich that is worth 5 millions and another one in Davos that is worth 5 or 10 millions. He's interested in that, but he's still broke. He cannot put 1K on the table. And that's most people. In the past, a slave master feared an educated slave. Today, the elites fear a free citizen capable of thinking. They're most scared about people who are capable of thinking and have the means to act. If you are capable of thinking, but you don't have enough time to write a book, or you don't have enough time to make a vlog on YouTube, or you don't have enough time to do anything because you barely can manage to put food on the table, well, then it's perfect. You're no danger to them. You are exactly the kind of useful idiots that they are after. Their strategy: reduce financial autonomy, fill lives with gadgets, and keep everyone depending on forced labor. Forced labors or handouts. Most of the time it was until now forced labor, but in the future it might be handouts. You are very heavily dependent and you're not free. You have to do what the system tells you to do. You have to get all the diplomas. And then when you have the diploma that you actually don't want, like an accountant, then you have to do that until retirement, even if you hate it. Because the system wants you to do that. And even if it's obsolete, even if you realize that there's no purpose in doing all that crap all day long, you still have to do it. And you have to pretend to be happy. And because you're dulled down, because they did much brainwashing, you will explain to everybody how happy you are. And the strategy is to reduce your financial autonomy. Work equals identity and status. And they also make you believe that work equals identity and status. Occupation remains a central part of social identity, reinforced by the question, what do you do for a living? And that's a funny thing. What do you do for a living? In the past, when I told people what I do for a living or what I aspire to, they hated me. They thought I was a madman. If I told them that I would write a philosophical book or that I'm interested in philosophy, they thought I was a madman. Even my family members, everybody thought that I was crazy. When I told them I do a video on YouTube, they tell me you're crazy. It's a total waste of time. Nobody will watch it. All you say is just stupid nonsense. You shouldn't do it. One of my clients, because I'm a financial advisor, one of my clients, we had a talk. I tried to explain to him that it's very important what he does and what his goals are in life. And I explained to him that I don't spend much money on education because I don't think you should. He does a lot of money on education. But I taught him that the papers they give you are worthless and what they teach you is worthless. And I told him, I think that there's a chance that I make something of my YouTube channel before you are capable of making something with your education that costs much money. And he said, you'll never make it. You never make it. I'll make it because of my teachers and because my education will cost me more than 75. I'll make it. But you'll never make it. On YouTube, you'll never make it. And he might be right. It might be that I'll never make it on YouTube, that I never will be able to monetize it, that I never will be able to make something out of it. He might be right. But he doesn't understand that I'm interested in what I do. I'm not sure that he's really interested in what he does. He tells me that he is, but I'm not sure he does. I think he's lying. He's lying because the system told him to lie. And because he realizes that spending 75K on education, and that's just the money he gives his teachers. He has to live in Switzerland, which is a lot of money every year, just for the basic necessities of life, your apartment, your healthcare, and the rest. It's a lot of money. You would be astonished how much it is. He gets all that, but the thing is, what do you do for a living? And I try to explain to guys, but people never get it. People have no clue. People have no clue what I do or why I do it, or what the point is. Even if I tell them I make money in the market, they have no clue how you make money in the markets. They think it has something to do with news. They are totally off. They have no idea what it is to be a technical analyst. And when you try to explain to them, then they think, well, that's not easy. Let's forget about that and keep on studying in university or somewhere else, or get a job as a delivery guy for Uber Eats or whatever they come up with. But they certainly don't want to do my work because they will realize that it's hard. It's really hard. It takes a lot of dedication and you must be passionate about it. Look at me. It is really expensive to produce this stuff on YouTube and nobody cares. Nobody says thank you. Nobody appreciates. And I still do it. Why do I do it? Because for me, it's interesting. When the people ask, what do you do? The answer I give them, they don't know what to do about it. With time, they realize that it is intellectual, that it is hard. And because of that, it's not that they respect me, but they think I'm a madman. They still think that I waste my time. What do you do is a strange question to answer, even if you work 17 hours a day. Because if you explain them that, you tell them I work 17 hours a day. This night, I only slept 4 hours. And after my breakfast, I took a look at the market. I see if I have to change any of my positions. And I'm here talking to you. And I will be working the entire day until I fell to sleep. I hope I find enough time to play 1 hour at the piano. But when you tell that people, for me, 24 hours is not enough. I would like to have the double or the triple every day just to do the stuff I would like to do. When you tell that to people, they have no clue. They have no clue. They cannot understand it. They think I'm a madman. And then they ask you, what does it make you? What does YouTube make you? Tell me nothing. And it probably never will make me any money. But it doesn't matter because I'm interested in it. I'm interested in doing it. I'm interested in talking about those ideas. And that's what everybody should do. If you just do what you're interested in, you'll get good at it. And it will be interesting at one time to listen to you. Very few people will understand that. Very few on earth. Because all they know is propaganda. That's all they have ever listened to. I have an app. It lets you take a look at what happens on different TVs in different countries. And sometimes I show that app to my friends. And I only do it to show them that it doesn't matter where you go or on what channel you click, you always get propaganda. And it's exactly the same propaganda over the last 30 or 50 years. Nothing has changed. There are 3-4 subjects that come back over and over. And that's all you hear all day long. That's called brainwashing. And it's never interesting. Then you never learn anything by listening to them. But people still do that all day long. And it does not matter. I know billionaires. I have lived with them. I know in their intimacy. They do the same as you. You take the poorest guy in Switzerland and you take the most wealthy guy in Switzerland. They do exactly the same. They sit on the bat and watch TV propaganda. That's the only thing they are interested in. That's the thing they do most. The difference is that one is sitting in a palace, has a cook, a maid, a beautiful wife, and 4 kids, and the other one is broke or in jail. But they do the same. The only thing they want to do is to listen to propaganda, because that's the only thing they know. And propaganda is something very easy. You don't have to think about. It doesn't create any critical thinking. There's no analysis. It's the same thing over and over. Every time I click on any of the channels, and there are a lot, There are regional channels that only exist in one city and so on. But every time I take it for a couple of seconds, it's always propaganda. And there are 5 or 10 subjects that always come back. But they teach you nothing. It's no analysis. It's no critical thinking. You learn nothing by listening to them. Still, people listen to that all day long. And that's the only thing they want to do. And it doesn't matter if you're the poorest guy or the most wealthy guy. You will still do exactly the same. Listen to propaganda all day long. And that's how they brainwash you. That's how they make you stupid. That's how they make you believe that what you really aspire to is get a diploma that some bureaucrat puts across on a piece of paper under your name. And then you can do something that nobody wants to do until you die. They really make you believe that. And then you act accordingly your entire life. But it's just brainwashing. Many jobs have no meaning. They just exist because of bureaucracy and corporate structure. And that's really bad for the economy, actually. Because you have to hire all those people to do meaningless stuff. It adds no value to what you do. But you have to do it. Because legally, you are forced to do it. It does nothing for you. It does nothing for your company. And it does nothing for your clients. But you still have to spend millions, hundreds of millions, billions every year on it, just because one law tells you have to do it. Most jobs exist only because laws are created to justify them and serve to keep people in precarity. Those jobs never make you wealthy. In the best case, you are house poor. In the best case, and very few people manage that nowadays. Because real estate in this country costs millions. 2 millions is nothing. If you really want to buy some real estate, you should have at least at your disposal 5 millions. Their salaries have not increased. People cannot afford it. And if you can afford it, if you manage to get some credit, if a bank gives you a mortgage, you will spend your entire life trying to pay the interest on that mortgage. You are the definition of house poor. And when you have to put 1K on the table, you can't. You have 5 millions or 10 millions in real estate, but you are incapable of putting 1K on the table. What life is that? And that's the best case scenario. There are very few people who achieve that. Most are far off of ever getting anything close to that. But even then, you live in precarity. 1K is nothing. You cannot pay your mortgage with it. You cannot pay your healthcare and the rest with it. 1K is nothing where I am. Nothing. Zero. Nada. And you cannot even put that on the table. But you do have on the paper 5 millions or 10 millions in real estate. But you barely can pay the maintenance of that real estate. You barely can pay the taxes on that real estate. It's called being house poor. And the entire system, doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a judge, it is designed to keep you in precarity. You can break out of that. You could contact me and get me as a financial advisor. And I would advise you, and I would make your life from a financial standpoint much better. But it takes time. It takes time and it takes efforts. And you will realize that you have to sacrifice stuff. While I'm talking to you, I'm not writing a new passage in my 5th Stoic book. While I'm talking to you, I cannot play the piano. You have to sacrifice something to get something else in life. And if you have nothing else than your time, well, that's the most precious thing anybody has on earth. And you still have to sacrifice it in order to do something. And when I explain that to people and what they should do and why they should do, and that we have to create a strategy that makes sense and they should follow, it's very hard. They maybe follow it 1 month, 2 months, or 1 or 2 years, then something happens. They get a divorce, the kid gets sick, or whatever. Something happens. And I say, I cannot do it anymore. And then I have to explain to them, the strategy does not work if you give up. Those strategies are designed to work over time. You can take strategies over a small period of time, but you take an extreme amount of risk and you have to be a day trader. I do not think that you want to take an extreme amount of risk or want to be a day trader. The strategies that I can provide you are strategies that work over time. And you have to follow them, even if you don't like. It's unbelievable how much noise there is everywhere. Everybody is working. There are leaves falling from the trees. And of course, they cannot fall on the ground normally. There has to be somebody who runs after them. It's Switzerland. What do you expect? One of the most wealthy countries on earth. In the past, they messed it up. That is not the case anymore. But in the past, it was one of the most wealthy countries in the world. And your de-elected leaders on purpose did put and stop doing it. They're all traitors. And you know what should happen to traitors who destroy our future, not just our freedoms, but also our wealth and our financial means for the future? what should happen to those kind of people who destroy the life of entire nations with their agenda and their new laws. How am I supposed to talk to you with all that noise around me? I could put the noise cancelling stuff on my microphone, but when I do that, the sound quality gets lower, and then it's less pleasant to listen to. My voice gets distorted. Technology is still not what we expect it. Now that I have passed the guy who is doing some work with his extremely expensive tractor for the state, which is extremely noisy, he's cutting the grass. But let's get back to what I'm talking about. Most jobs exist only because laws were created to justify them and serve to keep you in precarity. That was what we were talking about. That on purpose they want you poor. They want you dependent on the system. Because if you're free, you would leave. You would not want to be subjugated to their law. You would not want to give them the right to use extreme violence against you and everybody else. You would go somewhere where that doesn't happen. But they want you to be in precarity. They want you broke. Even if you're wealthy, you have to be broke. And most people are. Because when they are wealthy, they start spending so much money on nonsense they don't need, that they end up broke again. Those who fail to meet all conditions or keep their paperwork perfectly updated are excluded not only from traditional financial systems, but also from healthcare, housing, and all other necessities of life. They have decided that as long as you comply, that what they want is compliance. As long as you comply to the system and do all the stuff they ask from you since you are born, in kindergarten, in school, on university, and then during your life, when you do the meaningless stuff you're proud about because a bureaucrat did put a cross on a piece of paper for you, gave you a diploma, and you do that your entire life. I have no diplomas. I'm not interested in any diplomas. If you give them, what do I do with them? The guys behind me, can I sell it to them? Will they buy it? They're not interested in it. And just as they are not interested in it, I'm not interested in it. But they create a system, and it's a bureaucratic system. You have to fill out a lot of documents. You have to comply, always complying, and doing everything according to the law, according to what the slave master has decided. And if you do everything perfectly, you are the perfect slave, never ask questions, and never thinks about anything, then maybe you get healthcare, housing, and have access to the necessities of life. If you don't do it, then life gets really hard. And you have to find a way of surviving outside of the system, which most people cannot manage. It's not that it's impossible, but it's hard. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of effort. But when you manage to do it, you can be really proud. I'm really proud. I open my phone, there are weeks I don't take any position in the market, not weeks. But sometimes there are days where I don't take any position in the market. And then suddenly, things change. Suddenly, I see that things have changed. And I take 5 positions. And I realize 1 week later that 4 of my 5 positions are profitable. One is I wasn't stopped out, but all others are profitable. Very few people on earth are capable of doing that. Not even institutional traders. How can I wait 4 or 5 days, sometimes an entire week? And then there's 30 minutes of time where I have to take 5 positions. And why does it happen? Because liquidity gets injected and taken out. Even if the 5 positions are on entirely different markets, who normally have nothing to do with another, there's still liquidity that gets injected and taken out. And there are moments you should take a position. But there's a lot of moments where you do not have to take a position. You only have to check. What do I have to do? Do I have to take profits? Do I have to cut losses? But then something happens. It's like magic. It's like if you have a crystal ball. Actually, it has nothing to do with a crystal ball. But it's like that. You see that the moment to act has come. But that moment did not exist 1 hour ago or 30 minutes ago. It just appeared right now. And there are very few people who are capable of doing that on earth. Even institutional traders, people who work for the big banks, Credit Suisse, who did explode, lost everything they had, billions, trillions, and needed the government to step in, that the entire traditional finance doesn't disappear. It would have been a very good news if TradFi had disappeared and nobody would use again traditional finance and banks and anything related to them. It would have been huge news for humanity. Things would have gotten much better for everybody if that would have happened. But it didn't happen. You had state intervention and they injected all the money necessary so that traditional finance doesn't disappear. Why does they want it to disappear? It's one of the tools they use to make the micromanagement of your life. But it's something extremely beautiful. I'm very proud of it. Don't get me wrong. It's not because I'm having a moment where things go great that I think that it will be like this all the time. I think I will get through very hard periods of time that will extend over 6 months, over 1 year, maybe even over 2 years. That's because there's an extreme variance in trading. And that's hard. And when you explain that to people like you, people don't want to do that. They want a milking cow. They want something that gives them security and it's easy. Always the same thing. They don't want to think about when to take a position in the market. They don't want to look at charts all day long. Now I don't look at charts because I'm talking to you. But as soon as I get back home, I look at my charts. As soon as I wake up, I look at my charts. Before I go to bed, I look at my charts. While I produce the videos on my channels, I look at my charts. I never stop working. People don't want to do that. But that's all I want to do. I hope I never end up broke, not because I'm scared of living in the streets. I already was in the streets. I had nothing. No money to buy food, no roof over my head. I know all that. I'm not scared about that. I already went through it. I'm not scared about that. But I enjoy so much what I'm doing that I hope that I won't lose my entire capital. Because if I lose it, well, then I can take no more position in the markets. That can happen because of several things. Either you do a mistake, you get overconfident because your results are good. Over the next 6 months, or maybe even over a year, your results are good. And you say, oh, let's make a lot of more money. Why only make the basic necessity to survive? Why not make 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000,000 times more? And then you start taking really too much risk. You expose yourself too much to risk. And the end result is that you end up broke, that you end up having nothing. Just because you wanted too much, you did get too greedy at the moment. You should increase the capital you trade. You should take more risk. But it has to be a very slow process. And a lot of time has to go by. 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, until you go to a higher level, until you take more risk. Normally, it's the same thing. But you always have to realize, especially if I lose all my capital, who will give me some capital? Do you think that any of my family members, they're all wealthy? But do you think that any of them would put 5 USD in the past? They didn't even do it when I was a kid. I guarantee you, if they see me starving to death on the streets, they would not even buy a sandwich for me. I'm really sad to say that, but that's the truth. Talk with them. They are inhumane. Very wealthy, but inhumane. They only think about the pleasures. And some of the pleasures, you cannot even talk about it. It's totally illegal stuff. Inhumane and illegal stuff. But since they're wealthy, well, let's do what is funny and let's do what is illegal. It's very sad, but that's how it is. I'm not saying that it's easy, but to me, it's awesome that I do much better than people that have a salary who make 500K a year. To me, that's awesome. And you say, you're bragging and you're exaggerating. They lose money. 98% statistically, even institutional traders lose money. 98%. That's nearly 100% of the guys. They know all the math and all the crap, but it's not a question of math. It's not a question of a diploma. It's a question of hard work, of dedication, of never stopping. This weekend, I didn't do the market research that I have to do. And I still have to do it today or tomorrow, but I still have to do it before the week is over. Because every week I want to do my market research and I haven't had time to do it, but I still have to do it. I hope I find enough time today to do that. But you see, there's much things I want to do and 24 hours, it's very little time for me. I want much more. I would like the double or the triple of time every day. So just to try to do the stuff I have to do. I was talking about the basic necessities of life, healthcare, housing, and the other stuff that you have to afford. And then I went into a tangent. Let's go over the last points that I have. Actually, I didn't talk about a lot, and I still have a lot to talk about, which is really bad. In the past, they only closed the doors to additional fine. And then came cryptocurrencies, mainly Bitcoin. And there are no laws, it's just code. And everybody can enter or exit the system. Normally, that's how it should be. But of course, the first thing they do is create laws. Create laws that some people don't get access, which maintains extreme poverty. There are tools around you. If you are not allowed to use those tools, you keep poor. Your life cannot improve. And they do that on purpose. Then tell you it's because there might be some terrorists, there might be some money laundering. It's all bullshit. You do not launder money on cryptocurrencies because it's traceable. Because there's a blockchain and they will catch you. I guarantee you, you will not do it on cryptocurrencies. If you want to launder money, you do stuff with traditional finance. If you want to launder money, you try to become your dear elected leader. Then you spend your entire day laundering money. But you do not launder money when you use cryptocurrencies. It's just a tool. It's just somewhere where you can put wealth. It has nothing to do with laundering money. But they make up crap, they make up lies, and people fall for it. Those jobs serve no productive purpose. They exist only to enforce obedience and reduce freedoms. All the jobs necessary to enforce the coercion, the violence, it's extremely expensive and it's extremely counterproductive. It adds no value, but they still exist to reduce your freedom. Fake business is common. Fake work. Many admit to simulate work or stretching tasks to appear busy, a phenomenon known as productivity theater. They do like if they're busy, but it's just a theater. It's just a clown show. Pretend to be busy, so that they keep their benefits and keep employed. So maintained or even increased productivity, better mental health, and higher worker satisfaction. So if you reduce the 5-day week to a 4-day week, countries, people who tried it, realized that a 4-day week is just as productive as a 5-day week. And the satisfaction of the worker goes up. Inequality risk for essential jobs. But they say that it's not the same for essential jobs. Sectors as healthcare or continuous manufacturing find it harder to reduce hours, which could widen gaps with office jobs. They say, but we cannot do it with healthcare and some other essential sector. This argument is unacceptable. A nurse can reduce her working days to make space for others. It's unacceptable telling a nurse could not just work 2 days a week. Of course she can. She can just make space for somebody else who wants to work as a nurse. And if nobody wants to work as a nurse, well, that's actually quite awesome. There will be automation, and you will always find some people who like taking care of other people and do it spontaneously. They would even do it for free. I told you why I think that this argument is unacceptable. The constraints are not organizational, not technical. It's not a technical constraint. You can do it. You can only make a nurse work 2 days a week instead of 5 days a week. It's not that that is impossible. It's an organizational issue. Automation and AI will eventually cover most tasks in these sectors too. You must understand that even in those sectors, automation will make progress and very fast when you actually ask for it. It is Russia that blocks shorter working hours. Current economic and cultural system resist change, even when technology could allow for less work. It is that inertia is our current system and our cultural system. It's our values we project, and those values, we did not choose them. The slave master created them with his propaganda. You never thought about them. You never asked yourself any critical question. You never did any analysis. When I'm finished with this, I hope I find the time today to go through my market analysis. But you never do that. You never think about stuff. You never try to serve a new stuff, new ways of thinking, ways of improving your skills. You never do that. It is our current economic and cultural system, the issue. It is not a technical issue. It has nothing to do with the economy or technical issues. It's just our way of acting, our way of projecting, our way of following propaganda that we have never tried to examine. This is not just inertia. It is the deliberate will of modern slave master. So it's not just an inertia. It is what the modern slave master wants. The guy you elect every 5 years. It's what he wants. It's his agenda. It's his way of making the micromanagement of your lives. And I told you why he does it before. The goal is to keep everyone dependent on the system with no financial means to escape. We come back to the subject. They want you dependent on the system. The management, the micromanagement wouldn't be very good if you would not be 100% dependent on the system. A truly free citizen would leave the plantation and reject the institutional violence imposed daily. If you're truly free, you would flee the plantation. You do not want to be on a slave plantation, even if it's a beautiful slave plantation. And even everybody says you it's the most beautiful plantation on earth. You still would not want to be on it. And you would not want to expose yourself to coercion, to violence, institutional violence. and realize that institutional violence is the worst form of violence you can face. Everything else is easy to deal with. Institutional violence is very hard on you, and it really messes up your life if you survive it, which isn't even certain. Denmark's shorter hours success. Denmark combines shorter working hours with higher productivity and wealth, thanks to a different way of organizing wealth. There are a billion ways of organizing work. There are a billion ways of doing it. The slave master uses one way. And it's the same way they use everywhere. It's the way that is easily imposed on people because it only necessitates violence, coercion. You have to obey. You always have to do exactly what they say without you ever thinking or ever asking questions. That's what they promote. As I say, there are different ways of organizing work. And if you think there's only one way of doing it, you are totally wrong. And you have no idea what technological progress is. You have no idea what you're talking about. AI will automate all thinking. Advances in artificial intelligence aim not only to replace certain cognitive tasks, but the entire range of human mental work. It is not just that some cognitive tasks and some work will be automated, but the entire range of human mental work will be automated. And we will talk about how long that takes. We need a 10,000x boost needed for full AI. I'm talking about AGI or ASI. I'm not going to go into details, but I'm talking about that kind of stuff. And to achieve that, AI needs to be 10,000 times faster, 10,000 times better than it is nowadays. Reaching complete automation of human level or superhuman cognitive capabilities could require computing power or efficiency multiplied by 10,000. So we have to multiply computing power and efficiency by 10,000. And I think we can do it quite fast. Feedback loop, speed AI growth. Advanced AI will help design even better AI, creating a technological snowball effect. Let's talk about how long that would take. And to realize what I'm talking about, you have to realize what the distribution is that I'm talking about, what the variance is. It's like in poker. When you play poker and you start being a profitable poker player, which means you make more big blinds, you make more chips than you lose over the long run. You might be profitable 15 big blinds out of 100 hands. But once you have your number, you can calculate that. Apps will tell you that, like Poker Tracker. But once you have your number and you are profitable to poker player, there's a huge variance. The different possibilities. And some are very profitable and others less profitable. On some of those lines, you will make a lot of money, and on some of them lines, you will make less money. While you are the same, your profitability is the same. It's always the same, 3 big blinds, 110, for example. But sometimes you don't make a lot of money with that, even though you are just as profitable. For AI and full automation, it's the same. And there's median full automation should be by 2043. In 2 decades, we should have full automation. And that's the median line. That's not the best line, also not the worst line. Models predict median probability of reaching complete automation of cognitive work around 2043. That's not far off. Really not far off. That's the median line. It could happen faster, it could take a little longer. On that day, no one would be needed for work. So on that day, 2043, if that median line happens, we don't know on what line we are. It could be a better line, it could be a worse line. And there can be 20, 40 lines. You only get a trend over the long period, not over a couple of months, but over the long period, you see a trend. On that day, in 2043, if the median line happens, and that's the most probable, then nobody would need to work. But the system will invent new, absurd, and liberty-crushing tasks to maintain control. It's not because no more work is needed that people will be free. They will still invent bullshit jobs. Some people keep working, even if it's not necessary, even if it's obsolete. They invent a new task by law. And people will comply because they think that their life has some meaning if they do what the slave master tells them to do. AI will give elites the ability to micromanage every aspect of human life, down to thoughts. We come back to the management I talked about at the beginning. And AI will allow you to do that management. the micromanagement of lives. It already exists nowadays. Every law, everything you did in your entire life, nearly everything, you only did because it was micromanaged by the state. The state told you to do that. The state gave you a diploma. The state told you how to work, when to work, at what hours to work, and so on. The state did all of that. I don't listen to that. I try to be out of the state. I work at 3 o'clock in the morning. I work at 3 o'clock in the evening. I work 7 days a week. I really don't care about any law of the state. They're all nonsensical to me. They never made any sense to me. Even when the markets are closed, I still have work to do. It never stops for me. But the micromanagement of your life, that already exists. It's a poor fact. Everything you did, everything you thought, everything you learned was micromanaged by the state already as I'm speaking. That will increase in the future because of AI. Because AI allows you to do that on the next level. What is a utopia for them is for us a total dystopia. For them, that's their utopia. Total control, total power. That's their utopia. They don't actually care about money. You think they do care about money. Just numbers. They don't care about numbers. You care about that. Because if you don't have those numbers, those food stamps, you cannot buy anything. You cannot buy food. You cannot get heating. You cannot buy clothes. You care about it. But they don't care about it. They create as much numbers as they want. It's a game for them. It's just one more tool in their arsenal. And AI is one more tool on top of that. That allows them to go much farther in the micromanagement of your lives. As I told you, AI will give the elites the ability to micromanage every aspect of human life, down to thoughts. Even your thoughts will be created. They know how to trick them. They know how to make you angry, how to make you happy, how to make you feel incomplete, how to make you buy stuff, how to make sure you don't buy any meat. They will micromanage your life. How to stop, go on vacation or go on vacation, the micromanagement to the smallest aspect. And you can escape that, but it takes a lot of philosophy and a lot of work on yourself. Here's the danger. Yes, a dystopia will exist, but a dystopia is not created by AI. AI is just one of the tools they use. Probably the most. One day it will be the most potent, the most useful tool in their arsenal, but it's just one tool. And if you do not give them the power to do that, if you do not give them the power to make alignment of AI on their propaganda, then they would never have it. Normal coders who write an AI model or crack an AI model and put a dolphin model on the market, they are not interested in propaganda. Well, they are brainwashed. To a certain extent, they are. But normally, they're not interested. They just want to put something useful on the market. And if possible, make some money with it. But they comply to legislation. But that's only the case because you gave them the power to use extreme violence against people who write the code. And again, for people who work for you, you gave them that right. And you explained to them that it's always good to be a law-obedient citizen, which is not a propaganda slogan. You should not be obedient to any law that ever has existed or ever will exist. You should only care about your consciousness because you have something much more valuable in you than every law that ever has existed or ever will exist. It's just an expression of your time. They are cultural phenomena. They have no morality in them. They have no intrinsic value other than to allow the elite to enjoy life a little more at your expenses. And don't think that you can do anything. I'll always come back to that. People think that it will be chaos and that everybody would kill everybody and it will be the law of the most violent. It won't be nothing of that. The most violent gang around is the state, by definition. They have the right to use extreme violence against you and you do not have the right to self-defense. But on normal condition, you have the right to self-defense, which means that everybody would organize for self-defense and they would get an insurance. They will pay some guys, some Securitas or whatever it is, new police, whatever comes up. They will pay $50, $30 a year and then they can call a number. And once they call the number, there will be an intervention and they will make sure that your physical integrity is maintained because you have a right to self-defense and that nobody is stealing your wealth. And if they do, if somebody tries to steal your wealth or harm you, then he puts himself in a very dangerous position because you have the right to self-defense and he won't be able to do that long. His life will be very short if he thinks he can use violence against you. Nobody will be able to use violence against anybody on earth. Because if they do, well, their life won't be long. There are consequences. It's the non-aggression principle. Never initiate violence, only defend. It's not that it's a law, it's a normal thing. Every bird, every animal lives according to that law. It's not a man-made up law. It's something you observe in nature around you. And every creature on earth has the right to try to survive, to put food in their stomach, to look for shelter. And when they face an aggression, to defend themselves. Every creature had always the right to do that. And it is inhumane to declare that a human has no right to self-defense, that he's the only creature on earth who cannot defend himself. Under anarchy, everybody would get back the right to self-defense, and people will organize. And it will be very dangerous if you do not respect their integrity, the sovereignty of somebody else. If you think you can rape, if you think you can steal, if you think you can kill, you will not live long. Your life will be very short. And there are no prisons, because we have no right to put people in prisons for 10, 50 years or during their entire life. You have no right to do that. Self-defense doesn't give you the right to put somebody in prison, in a cage, during his entire life. You only have the right to defend yourself, and that's normal. But beyond that, it is not normal. And if you get harm, if somebody steals from you, then you have the right to get some indemnity. Then you have the right that the guy has to pay you back. And if he doesn't pay you back, well, you can forgive him. Or, in a very bad situation, you have the right to put an end to it. People who think they can scam people out of a lot of money, well, they won't live long. And people will be smart. They won't fall for the scam. I have my email on my channel, and people contact me. They are all scammers. I didn't have one single guy who wasn't a scammer. They all sell you fake products. They all pretend that they have millions of subscribers. They pretend that they make 7 figures every month, and that they want to work with you. They are scammers, all of them, from the first one to the last one. That's what you get nowadays, only scammers everywhere, because it's easy to scam. I'm talking to you for 2 hours now. For 2 hours I'm talking to you. It's hard work, and nobody will listen to me. Scamming somebody and writing some nonsense that takes you less than 30 seconds and hope that you find an idiot who buys your product that doesn't exist, that's easy. It's easy work. Everybody tries to do that. Why? Because they starve to death. Why? Because they don't even have 30 USD or 50 USD. And it's very sad, because if you're poor, what do you do? What can you do in life? Do you have an idea how much money I spend on my YouTube channel? And I don't pay for any ads. But do you have an idea how much money the different tools cost me that I'm using? It's a lot of money. Nobody would pay that. And I probably make never the money back. I only do it because I'm interested in crystallizing my thoughts, making them more clear, more understandable. It's work that passions me. That's why I do it. And I don't care if nobody listens, if nobody wants to understand, and if everybody only complains or tells me how much he hates me. I do not care about that. It's normal. Hate is the easiest feeling you can get. That's why it's the feeling everybody feels all day long. The only thing they feel is hate, because it's the easiest feeling. Love is much more hard, and happiness is even beyond that. So they can never feel love, they can never feel happiness. But hating people, that's easy. Just hate all day long. And there's this comment section, it's made for that, so that you can show everybody how much you hate me, and how much my work is meaningless, and how much everything I do is so bad, and why you are so awesome and make everything 1,000,000,000 times better than me. That's why the comment section is there. And everybody I've met, everybody I've talked to are just scammers. I can show you all the mails I've got. One scam after the net. Not one normal collaboration. Not one normal comment. Just scams. Outright 100% scams. What do? You just don't listen to them. You just don't answer them. You just don't read their comments. Once a week I take a look at my mailbox and I go 10 out of 10, as usual, scams. I just find it funny, because they try to invent new stuff. When they see that one scam doesn't work, then they just make up a new one. It's quite funny, because it's a lot of creativity. They always come up with new bullshit, with a new nonsense, just to get me and send them some money while they did nothing. In exchange, they do nothing. They pretend that they can do this or that. They do nothing. They cannot even write a normal sentence or a normal mail. But they still pretend that they have the clue, that they will make you famous, that because of them, you will get 10K subscribers in less than 1 week. They keep on telling you that nonsense, that they are outright lying. They can do nothing. If you're that great at being famous on YouTube, then get famous and get monetized and make a lot of money with it. You know nothing. The only thing you know is that there's a high probability that I can make a transaction for you and that you are so dirt poor that you could never do a transaction for me. That's the only thing you get. You try to invent a story, a fiction, that makes me do a transaction for you. And that's an outright scam. But since you are dirt poor and you do not have the mental capability, strength to work, and you do not have the financial wealth to do something that interests you, well, then you keep scamming all day long. That's all I've got. I've been doing this since more than 1 year, and I only get scams. 100% scams. Not one normal collaboration from anybody. Just 100% scams. I told you, what is utopia for them, the micromanagement of our life thanks to AI, is for us a total dystopia. AI takeoff window, 3 years. Once 20% of takeoff of task automated, the jump to 100% could happen in just 3 years. The thing is, with automation, people are not scared about automation. I never see anybody who talks about automation or knows what automation is. None of my friends, nobody I've ever met talks about automation. Nobody uses an agent nowadays. And my agent, what does he do for me? Not a lot. I've worked on him and he not even does 1% right now. I'm out of my prompts and I have to wait, or nearly out of prompts. I have like 4 left, which is nothing. I have to wait until the end of the month until I get 40 more prompts. So automation does very little for me right now. Very little. I wanted to do much more of my work. And it will take a long time until it manages to do 20% of my work. But once it is capable of doing 20% of my works, then it only takes, for the rest of the 80% of work, it will only take 3 years. Once it's capable of doing 20% of my work, then to automatize 100% of my work, it will only take 3 years. That's with automation and jobs. Right now, automation hasn't killed all jobs. It has killed already a lot of jobs, but not all jobs. And to put a number on it is very hard because there are no real statistics you can believe in. All the labor statistics and all that is bullshit. It's not the truth. It's not an honest way of looking at the economy. I have a couple of videos on my channel. You can check it out and try to understand it on yourself. But it isn't an honest approach. I have a lot of tools, but the only thing who is trying to do automation is my AI agent from ChatGPT. And he doesn't even do 1% of the work right now. Half of the tasks fail. I get an error message or it stops before ending the task. I waste half of my prompts for nothing or for very little, if not nothing. It's still very buggy, but it's the first version. It will get much better. Once it finally happens, the first 20% of automation is very hard. But once it manages to get the first 20% of automation, then for the entire remaining 80%, only 3 years, and you have full automation. And it's the same with jobs. At the beginning, it is very hard because it's very hard actually to make it work in a meaningful way, in a very useful way. It is very hard. But once you reach that 20%, then it is extremely fast. It's like it takes a couple of decades to reach the first 20%, but then it only takes 3 years to fully automate all the work you do on a computer. That's the AI takeoff window, 3 years. Once 20% of tasks are automated, the jump to 100% happens in just 3 years. There's a 10% chance that full automation happens before 2030. That's in less than 5 years. There's a 10% chance in around 4 years, but it's only a 10% chance. So it probably won't happen so fast, but it also will not take 50 years. Forecasts give a small but real probability of total automation by the end of this decade. That's the variance I talked about. It's the different lines you can be in. And one of them happen faster and the other one take longer. It's the variance. It's the same like in poker or in trading. There's variance. You are just as good, you work just as much, but the results sometimes are much better or sometimes are much worse. while the quality of your work hasn't decreased or increased. Risk cheap data, energy shortages, material and energy bottlenecks could slow or delay AI progress. There are risks like data, chip, energy, or shortages, but all of those risks will be overcome. In reality, all of these obstacles will be overcome. Technical progress will quickly solve chip shortages, energy limits, or data scarcity. There's nothing like this that will really be an obstacle. We still don't know how to manage all that stuff. We still don't know how to get all the energy, all the data needed, but we will create it. We will find a solution. We will create the synthetic data necessary for AI to improve. We will find a solution. Breakthroughs will happen, and they will happen faster and faster. Nothing will be able to permanently stop AI's advance. There's nothing you can think of. There's nothing that could happen that will stop AI's advance. All the obstacle, all the thing people think about and say because of that it will never work. They are wrong. Technology will prove them wrong. Technological progress will prove them wrong. Especially when you talk about something like AI, which is just code. Biology doesn't obey exactly the same rules, but technology, code, will obey that rule. It will be exponential, and every obstacle will be overcome. Nothing will be able to permanently stop AI's advance. And the change is faster than the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was already very fast. We never saw such a revolution over such a small period of time, having such an impact on humans on this earth. But AI will have a bigger impact and will be faster than the Industrial Revolution. Because the Industrial Revolution was tractors, was chainsaws, was the combustion engine. And all those stuff were quite limited in what they can do. But AI goes far beyond that. It is just code, and you can keep on improving it really fast. Unlike past transitions that took generations, this shift could happen with a single career. You need only the lifespan of one person to make that happen. Even the current generation will see part of this transformation. I'm the current generation. I'm talking about those revolutions right now to you, or in my books, I'm talking about that. But I'm old, so I won't be around long. But even I will see the outcome of that battle, the outcome of that revolution. I will see what happens. I will see if, as I predict, the state will use AI to make the micromanagement of your life, steal your freedoms one after the other, do not respect your bodily autonomy and your right to self-determination, your right to take decisions and live according to your will. I do not think they will offer you that. I do not think they will offer you free will. Not more free will, as if I tell my slave, you cannot work. But if you do not work, I will whip you to death. I don't think they will give you any more free will than that in the future. But I will see that outcome. It will happen fast. I will see it. And one generation will see the end of the battle, the AI battle, that will rage. People don't know it. Your politician and the news guy on TV, he knows nothing, and he will never tell you. But it will happen. They don't care about consumerism in the future. They only care about winning the AI war. Even the current generation, which I'm a part, will see part of this transformation, will see a lot of what will happen. The real danger is not AI itself, but how leaders will use it to impose the worst dystopia in human history. It is only a tool, and it's very dangerous if you give that tool to somebody who has the right to use extreme violence against you, while you don't have the right to self-defense. That's extremely dangerous because you're not on the same level. There should be nobody above you. There should be nobody above me. It is your life. You can live it how you want. You can do what you want, what you think is meaningful. And there should not be any sanction. Just because you don't do the stuff the slave master wants you to do, you should not starve to death. That's inhumane. It never was like this. There's no ancient tribe where you starve to death just because there was a slave master. And when you did not do what the slave master said, well, then you starve to death. That never existed in humanity. No society has ever worked in such a system. You have created that. You have given all that power to somebody, to your dear elected leader. But that should have never existed in the first place. There's no reason why it should have ever seen the light of day. It's a total inhumane. thing. You cannot give somebody total power to use extreme violence domestically and abroad and think that that is normal. They still send you to war and give you no right to some critical thinking or independence or freedom or financial survival. Nothing like this. Only slavery and wasting your life with stuff that is totally meaningless. Nobody in his right mind would ever do. That's all bullshit. All the compliance and all the crap, the bureaucracies and all the crap, all the documents you always have to fill out. It's all bullshit. It never should have existed in the first place. The outcome of the AI battle will crown the new master of the planet. That's what I'm talking about the new master of the planet. Do you think there are no more Napoleon? Do you think there are no more Alexander the Great? There are a lot of people who want absolute power over everybody on Earth. Absolute power and absolute control about everybody on Earth. And they will get it thanks to AI. AI will crown and create the new master of the planet. Leaders have only one goal, absolute power and control. And AI will give them the means. I've got through all the stuff I wanted to say. My phone is ringing an alarm telling me that I have no more power. I have to stop. I managed to talk about all the stuff I wanted. I have to edit it, and then I would like to create shorts out of it. But since my agent is not doing any work, and I probably won't find the time to create all the shorts, I don't know when I will be able to do it. Maybe only at the end of the month. And maybe then I have already published some more vlogs that I want to make shorts out of. Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe. I wish you the best. Have a good day. And see you as soon as I have a new subject, something that I'm passionate about and I want to talk about. Take care. Bye-bye.